November 30th, 1994, 12:18 a.m. Manhattan, Quad Recording Studios on West 34th Street. Tupac Shakur steps into the lobby and three men rush him. They demand his jewelry. He refuses. 5 shots, 2 to the head, both graze him. 1 through the hand, 2 to the groin. He goes down. And here's where it gets surreal. Tupac gets back up. He gets in the elevator. He rides it to the 5th floor, where a studio full of people, including Biggie Smalls and Sean Combs, are reportedly waiting. He stares them down. Then he leaves on a stretcher. The next morning, wrapped in bandages and sitting in a wheelchair, Tupac is convicted in a separate sexual assault case in the very same city. He goes from a hospital bed to a courtroom to a prison cell, all in less than 72 hours. Most careers end at the first bullet. His was just getting started. What happens next rewrites the entire blueprint of hip-hop survival. Understand what Tupac survives, you have to understand what he was built from. Born June 16, 1971 in East Harlem, New York. His mother, Afeni Shakur, was a Black Panther Party member who was 8 months pregnant with him while standing trial for 156 counts of conspiracy against the government. She defended herself in court. She won. That is the bloodline Tupac comes from. The family moves constantly: Baltimore, Marin City, California, poverty following them like a shadow. But Tupac is not ordinary. At Baltimore School for the Arts, he studies acting, poetry, jazz, ballet. He reads Machiavelli. He absorbs Shakespeare. He's writing rap lyrics that feel like literature before he's ever stepped in a recording booth. By the time he lands in the Bay Area in the late 1980s, he's broke, sometimes homeless, sleeping on friends' couches. But he has an intensity that people can't look away from. Digital Underground takes a chance on him as a roadie and backup dancer. Within a year, he's rapping on their record.
Hang around with the underground. Girls used to frown, say I'm down.
Within 2, he's a solo artist. The trajectory is almost violent in how fast it moves. By 1993, Tupac Shakur is not just a rapper. He is a cultural force that the industry doesn't fully know how to handle. His debut album, Tupacalypse Now, drops in 1991, and Vice President Dan Quayle personally calls for it to be pulled from shelves. That's how loud Tupac is before he even peaks. Strictly for My Energy Jay-Z goes gold in 1993. Poetic Justice hits theaters the same year. Tupac starring opposite Janet Jackson. $28 million at the box office. He's on the cover of magazines. He's being courted by Hollywood. He is one of the most watched human beings in America. And the money is real, not just promise, but actual infrastructure building. Interscope Records is behind him. John Singleton wants him for films. He has leverage. He has reach. He is 22 years old. But with that visibility comes a target. The more Tupac speaks about police brutality, about systemic racism, about the war being waged on Black men in America, the more powerful people want him quiet. The fame is enormous. The pressure is more enormous. And the street life he raps about is not fiction. It is closing in from every direction. The industry Tupac is navigating in 1993 and 1994 is a minefield. Interscope Records is powerful, but Tupac is not in control of his own master recordings. He is generating millions he will never fully see. Legal fees are mounting. He has a robbery charge in October 1993, Atlanta, after an altercation with 2 off-duty police officers. He beats that case, but the arrests are accumulating. Then in November 1993, a sexual assault allegation surfaces. A woman claims Tupac and associates assaulted her in a New York hotel room. Tupac maintains it was consensual. The case drags through 1994. The legal bills accelerate. Meanwhile, he keeps recording, keeps performing, keeps being Tupac at full volume. Because stopping means dying. The music industry sees all of this and does not ride for him. No major label pushes back on the narrative. No executive steps forward. He is watching his resources drain while lawyers extract every dollar he makes. He owes Interscope advances. He owes his management. And somewhere in that financial desperation and social isolation, the street relationships he kept because they felt like loyalty start to feel like the only thing left. That vulnerability is exactly what gets him into the lobby of Quad Studios on November 30th. He is there that night because someone he trusts told him to be there. February 14th, 1995. Valentine's Day. Clinton Correctional Facility. Dannemora, New York. Tupac Shakur begins serving a sentence of 1.5 to 4.5 years for sexual assault. He is 23 years old. He is broke. He is inside. And he is angrier than he has ever been in his life. But Tupac Shakur in a prison cell is still Tupac Shakur. He starts writing. Obsessively. Hundreds of pages. He reads Machiavelli's The Prince and Son, sews The Art of War back to back. He does push-ups until his body transforms. He studies. He plots. And critically, he gets on the phone. Suge Knight, founder and CEO of Death Row Records, the most feared label in the music industry, calls him. The offer is direct. Death Row will post Tupac's $1.4 million bail. In exchange, Tupac records 3 albums for the label. 1 album to pay back the advance. The rest is product. Tupac consults no lawyer for this deal. He has no one left to trust with that kind of counsel. He shakes Suge's hand through a phone call and a prison visit. February 1995 is the exact moment the chessboard resets, and Tupac flips to a completely different game. October 1995. Tupac walks out of Clinton Correctional after serving 8 months. Suge Knight is waiting. The machine moves immediately. Within weeks, Tupac is in a Los Angeles studio recording at a pace no one in the industry has ever seen. He records 30 songs in the first month. Some days he records 3 complete tracks in a single session. Me Against the World, the album he recorded before prison and released while incarcerated, has already gone to #1 on the Billboard 200. He is the first artist in history to debut at #1 while serving a prison sentence. The record industry is watching with its jaw on the floor. Death Row promotes him like a weapon. He gets a house in Calabasas. He gets cars. He gets a budget. But everything has a price. The bail agreement means he owes Death Row product on a timeline that has no breathing room. He cannot slow down. He cannot renegotiate. The contract Suge drafted gives Death Row enormous control over masters, royalties, and release schedules. Tupac is free from prison. But he has walked directly into a different kind of confinement, one without visible walls. And the people from November 30th, 1994 are still out there. Here is what the mainstream narrative always softens. The deal Tupac signed with Death Row was not a rescue. It was an acquisition. Legal experts who later reviewed the contract, details surfaced in court documents from subsequent Death Row litigation, described it as one of the most one-sided agreements in the history of the music business. Tupac received no meaningful legal counsel before signing. He was incarcerated. He was desperate. And Suge Knight knew both of those things in precise detail. The $1.4 million bail was not generosity. It was a leverage purchase. Every album Tupac delivered to Death Row generated royalties that flowed primarily back to the label, not to him. He was being paid in lifestyle, cars, security, the house, studio access, while the actual asset value of his recordings accumulated elsewhere. All Eyes on Me, released February 1996, sells over 5 million copies in its first year. It is a double album. The label's return on the bail investment happens before the record is out 6 months. But there's something else. The Quad Studios shooting, the event that started all of this, was never fully solved. Theories have circulated for 30 years about who ordered it and why. Biggie and Puffy were in that building. Tupac believed that until the day he died. That belief drives every lyric on All Eyes on Me. It drives every interview. It drives the war that ends both of their lives. Shot 5 times in a lobby in Manhattan. Convicted the next morning. Sent to prison with no money and no allies. And somehow, within 18 months, he releases the #1 album in America from a prison cell, walks out into a Death Row contract worth millions, and records what many still call the greatest rap double album ever made. That is not a comeback story. That is something that doesn't have a name yet. But here's what nobody has ever fully answered. Who called Tupac to Quad Studios that night? Who knew he was going to be there? And why did the people who were in that building never have to answer for what happened? The full story has never been told. Drop your theory in the comments right now. And if you think you know who set Tupac up that night, say it.